Welcome to the LFC Forum podcast. It's been a little while. Today we'll be discussing the Man United Liverpool post-match result. And joining me today we have Hassan, we have Paul. Gentlemen, it's been a little while, but good to be back on the podcast.
It sure is.
Yeah, definitely good to be back. Wish it were in better circumstances, though.
Yeah, not disappointing result yesterday. We lost 2-1. It was actually a pretty even game, I thought, but let's just start getting your thoughts on it. Paul, I want to start with you. Give me an in-depth breakdown of what you thought about yesterday's performance. Okay, Hassan, you go first.
I mean, it was a typical Mourinho performance in the first 30 minutes almost. I mean, they instantly sat deep. I think Pogba being out made things easier for Mourinho because he can then have his players where he wants them to be. So McTominay and Matic were sitting quite compact out of the back four. I mean, it was basically two banks of four, and Alexis up front with Lukaku for the entirety of first half, basically. Even part of the second half, although the substitutions changed the things a bit. The two goals that were very similar. Lovren, who I'm not sure why he was on Lukaku and not Van Dijk. Although I'm guessing that Klopp wanted Van Dijk, who is quicker, to be on the cover. But instead what happened was that they caught out Trent. And Rashford, the first one, Trent was too wide. Rashford gets the ball. And Trent got, easily also bypassed by the skill that Rashford showed. And the second one, I mean, there's a bit of luck to it. Lovren doesn't do well. But, I mean, Van Dijk makes the challenge, and it ends up with Rashford, who shoots it and it's deflected off Trent into the goal, and just completely wrong foots Karius, who was going to save the ball easily. Second half, I don't think thing is we didn't have any chances, but at the same time the game was so physical, and the ref didn't do anything about it, that I don't think we had a chance of doing anything at all. And we got a lucky goal, but couldn't get, the equalizer. Although we did look threatening from corners, which is not something you expect from Liverpool.
Yeah, this was really a game that was kind of done and dusted in the first 20 or so minutes between their goals. Unfortunate, actually, because the goals were actually really soft that we actually gave away. Trent, his youth, this is what happens. I didn't think that he needed to apologize on Twitter regarding his mistake. It happens. Okay, you move on. You're still a teenager. It just happens. So you don't have to worry about these kinds of things. As long as you make sure that you keep getting better, that's fine. Lovren was Lovren. When it came to high leverage moments, he just fades, at the worst possible times. And when he fades so badly that we're most likely going to concede. And that's what ended up happening yesterday, which is really sad. I'll get into the second half in a little bit, but Paul, what were your thoughts on the goals?
So I actually slept through the first half of the hangover and woke up at half time to find us 2-0 down. So I had to recap on that quite quickly. They were soft. They were really soft. I think Lovren's been asked to do something. I've got some sympathy with him. Lovren's been asked to do something that I don't think he needs to do. I don't think he needs to be that tight to Lukaku. You can have an organised defence. Let Lukaku win the header and chase down the ball after it hits the ground. You can do that. And then it stops United exploiting the space, which they did twice. They managed to expose Trent twice as well. It was naive defending. I think the setup wasn't quite right, but all that said, a better defender at least competes for those headers. It was another case of watching Dan Lovren fold in a big game. And even with the best will in the world, you just can't see how we go to places like Old Trafford, he's going to contribute. The same thing happened with Spurs at Wembley. You know, he bottles a header, we're exposed and we concede. And I've got a lot of sympathy with Trent. You're right, by the way. He did not need to apologise on social media whatsoever. He's a young lad. He's still a teenager. He's still learning. And all right, for the first goal, Rashford completely sold him. Absolutely. But that's the kind of thing that comes with experience. I think next time he goes up against a talented attacking player like that, he isn't going to be tricked into showing him the inside as much. He's going to learn from that. I don't think Lovren at the age of, what is he, 28 now, is going to be able to add anything to his game the way Trent's going to. So on the whole, while I think they were both at fault for the goals, I'm a little bit more inclined to go easier on Trent because I think he's got it within him to put that behind him. Lovren, in my opinion, doesn't.
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, that's why we give the benefit of the doubt to Trent over here instead of Lovren. But as you said, you know, we didn't need to really get so tight to Lukaku. I think we were getting tight to Lukaku was because we wanted to win every header pretty much so that we could again start building an attack. And I really don't see why we need to do that so aggressively at Old Trafford. I mean, if United are saying we're not going to aggressively press you, we're going to sit back, we're going to let you have the ball, well, pass it around for a little while. There's no need to actually, I mean, getting a draw at Old Trafford is not a bad result at all. You know, if Mourinho says we're not going to attack you that much, then we'll say, okay, we're not going to attack you either. What's the harm in that? You know, because as Hassan said, we did look threatening from corners. You know, one or two corners. You know, we may have had maybe 3 or 4 less corners in that game had we been a little bit more safe, so to speak. But I think that would have been a fine strategy. You know, again, we just gifted United 2 very, very soft goals, poor defending goals. Now, speaking of performances yesterday, I didn't think anyone particularly stood out, and I was surprised to see that Henderson was excluded from the game. I thought Hassan and I was discussing this. I think it's fitness related, if I'm being honest with you. So he started midweek, and I don't think he's able to start 2 games like that in a row. So I'm a little bit surprised. I thought Ox was not too bad. I thought Milner was okay. Was probably better on his corners than he was in actual open play. Yeah. But I think for me, the biggest disappointment yesterday, besides Lovren, was Salah. I thought that was his worst game so far. He just was too static for me yesterday. What were your guys' thoughts overall, performance-wise and second half-wise? Hassan?
To be fair to Salah, I mean, he didn't have a chance. I mean, you have 3 players already playing down the middle, and that's not including the likes of Mane drifting in, Firmino drifting in. Even the fullbacks they weren't really wide a lot of times. United were going sometimes 3 players on Salah. You had Young, who was very tight on him. Then you had McTominay, who would double up on him a lot of times, or Matic. And you would have Rashford or whoever was on the left, just going right back to go at Salah. So, I mean, a lot of times he would just delay the pass because he was like, I can't really release it safely. So, I mean, look, he's been sensational. So, you know, we have to give him a break.
Sure.
But ultimately, I mean, we will get into it more, but the nature of the game was so physical and the ref wasn't calling anything that I don't think we could have approached the game any differently. And that includes, you know, Salah getting on the ball, because I bet you Matic would have gone pushing him or be very physical had he tried to get on the ball. So, I mean, these things happen, and ultimately, it's just a result. We lost at Old Trafford.
Well, so, see, the thing with Salah for me was he was kind of playing with his back to goal for pretty much the entire game. Like he was not even moving. That was my biggest issue yesterday. He was almost playing like a target man, and there were times when he should have moved. Look, I look at it like this: like in a situation with Suarez. If Suarez is going to be man-marked by 3 people or doubled at all times, he's still going to continue moving. And he's going to say, okay, if you're going to man-mark me 2 players, I'm going to make sure you pay for that. And I felt yesterday Salah probably was tired or something else, but he just did not look like himself yesterday.
I think it's partly instructions, because I do think that Oxlade-Chamberlain was started in order for him to, move a bit wide from his central position. So you would have Trent and possibly Oxlade-Chamberlain going into these positions, allowing Salah to go central. So he'd make a diagonal run, dart right in front of De Gea. What happened was that United were basically playing with four in the back and four, and I mean you had the two sitting very deep. So that opportunity to, actually do that movement wasn't allowed. And I mean, the only time really, like, there was a 10-minute period in the second half in which we were able to get behind United, but they were, stopping the crosses from going in. So I think that was what we were looking for more and more. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, I mean, it was always going to be a tight game. It was always going to be decided by mistakes, including refereeing ones.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah, yesterday was a game I was kind of wishing we had a player like Giroud. So,
I wouldn't say Giroud. Who I thought would have helped was actually Sturridge a bit.
Just for the crossing situation, because the way we were looking, we were not going to get a goal by breaking them down. Just some kind of lucky deflection or a header from the corner or something like that was what I thought we would probably, or a penalty, which we should have gotten, to be honest with you, because there was a handball by Valencia there, and that was not given, which I felt again was a decision. Again, these decisions are marginal, so I'm not going to get too worked up about it. But overall, I have to say it was just disappointing because United really weren't that much better than we were. And again, I really don't want to play them in the Champions League, but even if we did, I don't think that there's much separating these two sides. That's my overall feeling between this. Paul, do you have any thoughts?
I think on the Salah thing, I think we're running risk of overvaluing his contributions to the team, because if you've got a situation where 3 Man United players are man marking one of ours, surely that then opens up the space for Firmino and Mane to operate and not have to rely on the crossing game that we ended up having to resort to. Man United would have been licking their lips at seeing us put in crosses because it's an easy thing to defend against. We needed to find a way to keep the movement up, move quicker, move more intelligently off the ball, and keep trying to break them down. It's not easy against a team that's as well drilled as they are. But the first thing they want to see from us is us resorting to crosses. And if what we're trying to do is break them down by making sure that we've always got Salah on the ball when they've got 3 men man marking them, no wonder we're having difficulty breaking them down. I worry that what it shows about our attack is that it's now become so reliant on Salah that when Firmino and Mane have to provide the bulk of the attacking work, it doesn't quite work out anymore. And I want to feel like going forward, our attack's a little bit more balanced and that it can be pragmatic enough to say, all right, well, Salah's not getting on the ball enough and he isn't really on form today. Let's try something different. And I don't think that something different was really there.
To be fair, I think that was in part because that we were very sloppy in possession a lot of times, especially, for example, Ox had a couple of passes which were just didn't work
Mane was
out.
very sloppy too.
Mane had a lot of sloppy moments. And Firmino, I mean, he as always, his work rate was great, but and his one moment of brilliance, the 1-2 with Mane, was disrupted by Fellaini. I mean, you can argue whether it's a penalty or not, but Fellaini just tripped him up a bit.
Fellaini does, yeah.
So,
well, I actually thought Mane tripped Fellaini because Mane came into his back. So I was surprised to see the foul given on Mane there.
We're gonna talk about this more in a bit.
So. Okay, but I actually thought in that again, I like the layoff idea from Firmino, but I also thought that there was a possibility he could have taken a shot. Also, our goal came from a moment of sort of it was an individual mistake by Bailly, but also was an individual moment where Mane just kind of said, all right, I'm taking a player on. And sometimes I feel And this is where we've discussed on the chat, talking about different players, like who would be a good fit, who would not be a good fit. But at the same time, there are not that many players in our team besides Mane who can actually take on players one on one. You know, Salah is not that guy. He has a lot of strengths, but he's not, like a typical prototypical winger who can take somebody, one on one out wide. And someone like that would possibly be a player like Leon Bailey. Perhaps we're missing one of those players who could come on and provide an individual moment of brilliance where he gets isolated out on the wing, and you never know what can happen, like yesterday. So again, one of those things sort of maybe to think of. But overall, it was a little bit disappointing. Hassan, I know you were very upset at the refereeing yesterday with Craig Boston. So I'm going to give you the floor now. Vent as much as you want to about Craig Boston.
Okay, so it started like 10 minutes into the game. Chan had this. I mean, there was nothing to it. He wins the ball perfectly. And I mean, there wasn't even like a follow through where he just, he hits Valencia or anything, and it's given a foul. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be that sort of game, and it just goes from from there, and it just snowballs, where United could go pushing and be very physical with our players. There's one where Bailly basically blocks off Milner in the box with his leg. And then you get the penalties.
Ashley Young on Salah?
Ashley Young on Salah, where I still don't get why Salah didn't fall. I mean, it's the dark arts according to Pochettino, so might as well fall. There's the Mane one, which we discussed a bit earlier, the Valencia handball. And you had other incidents such as Rashford. I think he had the yellow by that time, and he goes studs up on Trent. Although there's no contact, the intention's there and nothing is given. Valencia, well, I mean, again, the Mane red card against City, where his foot hits Ederson's head. Everyone's like, yeah, that should be a red. That's probably a red. Valencia hit. Who did he hit? Was it Mane?
Mane,
Who
yeah.
got hit on the shoulder?
It was
Okay,
Mane.
it was on his shoulder, and the ball wasn't there to be controlled. He was right in front of him. It wasn't the side collision like Mane and Ederson. That's a yellow card. Fine. I think it's more or less a yellow card, but still, the inconsistency is there. And then you get like Salah, Smalling tackles Salah, and then he just holds him and slams him into the ground. And the ref is right there, and no one's saying a thing. And in a sense, that's what I think we missed from Henderson yesterday. Henderson, I mean, I don't think he's like this remarkable leader or anything, but he does one thing well. He screams at the ref. He would have gone and said to ref, hey, what the hell are you doing? And I don't think anyone was doing that on our side. Look, if they are going to make it a physical game, you make it a dirty game. Use to plow. If they want to hit you below the belt, you just go right in there. And I think we lacked that yesterday. That was a normal like derby rivals game where it's physical, where two sides would go right at each other. We didn't have anyone who was doing that, and it was disappointing.
One thing about you mentioned Valencia on Mane, right? Going to the shoulder. There was one incident, I believe, with Trent and Sanchez. I think it was in the second half. It was in the second half, I believe, where I think Trent didn't catch Sanchez on the head, but his foot was high near Sanchez's head. So in that respect, like I can see why Valencia wasn't sent off, because I do think that there is maybe a little bit of consistency there.
I'm not saying I said he should. I would have given a yellow.
Okay, a yellow.
But
yeah, I would have given a yellow too.
But the thing, I still remember after the Mane incident against City, the next day Newcastle were playing against Swansea, and Matt Ritchie, I think it was on Alfie Moss, and he almost hits his head, and the referee, I think he gave a yellow. I was like, Really? Like, really? And Valencia had an incident against Newcastle not long, like a couple of weeks ago, where he hits. I forgot who he hits on the shoulder. I think it was Atsu who he hits on the shoulder. I'm like, what is the rule? How high should the boot? Is it just the head? That's all of a sudden this area of big concern where it's automatically a red. I mean, there's a lot of question marks about this. But yesterday it was decision like there was a small nudge there, and I mean, look, if you're not gonna give a single foul, and this is the same referee who against Everton at Anfield gives a very soft penalty on Lovren on Calvert-Lewin. So it's very frustrating to see that sort of inconsistency, because yesterday, I mean, Matic could have held up Mane, slammed him, and which Smalling actually did to Salah, and nothing would be given. It's just so inconsistent.
I have to jump in, by the way, and just say that I would have sent Valencia off for that challenge on Mane. I think that's a high foot. It's dangerous play. And it's, for me, I think it was the most serious mistake, because I can live with the Valencia handball. I thought, while I've seen those given, my instinct would not have been to give a penalty for that. And that frustrates me far less than seeing him go in with a high foot, endanger the safety of one of our players, and get away with effectively a slap on the wrist. I thought that was absolutely terrible refereeing. The kind of thing where in a derby, you do get away with those challenges. You see them go in, but a referee's got to be able to stamp his authority on the game and say, right, no more of that. That's dangerous play. Cut it out. And it's just an example of the softness with which he approached that game. He did everything by halves, the referee yesterday, and I think that was the perfect example of it.
On the Valencia handball, I think it was a penalty because he was.
Yeah, it was definitely. I'm just looking at the picture that Hassan sent on the chat, and yeah, that's a clear penalty for me. Again, it's night. It's daylight. It's complete.
Sure, I mean, I know.
The ball traveled a lot. The ball traveled 10 meters.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't something that was close either.
They measured about. I think it was like 12 or 13 yards away. So I mean, that's enough distance.
I mean, it obviously hit his hand, but I don't think he did it deliberately. I don't think he moved his arm towards the ball. I think that's the reason I wouldn't have given a penalty for that.
But it wasn't directly on his to his side. That's the thing.
Yeah, it was outstretched. It was outstretched. That was the problem. It kind of interfered with the flight of the ball over there, because he did make himself bigger, basically.
And I have one more complaint as well.
Oh, then you want the end of the game, right?
How the hell does he whistle I think the final whistle was at 96 minutes and 22 seconds after United had made a substitution, and we had like 5 corners, and you had a delay of play of about half a minute. I think there was an incident where someone was down for like half a minute as well in the stoppage time. So basically, he should have added another minute, and if whistled direct, like one chance, and he, like goal kick, and was the final whistle. I was like, really, and that's where I think Henderson, let's say, would have gone at the ref saying, "What the hell are you doing?"
This is some really weird theory you have here.
No, because genuinely, imagine if Real Madrid were playing in a sort of game, which rarely happens, but let's say they're playing against Barcelona and they're feeling that the game was not being refereed right. Ramos would have gone right to the ref and said, "Get your shit right. Get your head straight."
But that's fucking Ramos. That's the thing.
Anyone putting pressure on the referee. That's why people put pressure on the referee. That's why they do it, because it influences the referee. And no one was doing that.
But didn't Klopp get in trouble with the referee? Didn't Pawson have to come talk?
It's not enough, because Klopp is the guy. He's going at the fourth official. He's not going at the referee.
But then Pawson had to come over to him, right? Because I think
for a bit.
Yeah, because I think he told. I think he said something to Pawson about like, and then the fourth official told Pawson that it was directed at you, or something like that. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, I mean there was a conversation. I think like Klopp was angry about a decision. It was after the Lovren lost his head and went twice.
that was hilarious.
Which was an odd thing for him to be upset about. I'm not sure what he was upset about, but what I mean, you had a player go right at the ref and maybe surround him a bit. I know it's not something that people are, oh look, they're surrounding the ref, because if the referee was like Craig Pawson yesterday, he needed 7 players around him just to scream at him. Because you have to put pressure on the referee. That's the point of having him there, to put pressure on him. And we didn't do that. And it's another thing where we lack someone who has that sort of fiery character in the side. I don't think we have anyone who does that. Henderson sometimes goes at it. Like there was that time when he went into a staring competition with Diego Costa a couple of years ago, which was fun. Although that was like, okay, Henderson, what the hell are you trying to do?
Chan is a yeller. It's not like Chan
he didn't
doesn't yell.
And I'm very disappointed.
Not yesterday he didn't.
Yesterday he didn't. Why aren't you going to the ref? Go right at him.
Actually, you know what? Lovren yells, Chan yells. Both of those two yell, for sure. Firmino, Salah, Mane don't. They don't do it at all.
Let's say after the Chan tackle, which was perfect. Like there was nothing to it. It was the most pathetic decision during the game. Why didn't 3 players go to ref? What the hell was that?
If anyone deserves blame for it, it's Milner.
But Milner is a quiet guy. He's the captain, but he's a quiet guy. Why aren't Chan, Van Dijk, and whoever just go to the ref? Get your head straight.
And Ox probably should have done it.
You need that. So football isn't just being technically great. It's also like having the mental edge.
The dark arts.
Barcelona would have had Busquets. Puyol would have screamed at the referee. They would have had Xavi talking about the height of the grass, complaining to the referee. You'd have a ton of players just going right at him.
The height of the grass. Okay, let's all right. Let's change gears now. This stage, height of the grass. Okay. So then the next thing. So let's move on from this United result. Let's look at the Champions League, because that's going to be the interesting stuff. We're going to have the draw this coming Friday. So the one thing I want to see before the draw, though, is I want to see Sevilla kick Man United out. That's what I want to see. But aside from that, my feelings on the Champions League are this: I don't care who we get, so long as we don't get United. That's basically what I'm saying. I don't really care who we get, so long as we don't get United. Hassan, who do you want to see? Who do you want to see us play or not play?
In terms of seeing us play, I mean, Roma and Shakhtar probably offers the easiest, route to the semifinals. I don't want Sevilla. Just no Sevilla. Don't want to go there. Although I don't think they're a good team. They're okay. They're savvy. But I still think United will win that game. Will win the tie. Juve. I mean, Juve are they're streetwise, which yesterday highlighted. I think we lack. Juve would know how to get a result against us. I think, although I don't think they're this great team or anything like that, but I think they would know how to play us. I'm okay with anyone, honestly. It's been since the last time we played at the Champions League quarterfinal was April 14th, 2009, the 4-4 against Chelsea. That's 9 years. I'll take anyone. Just glad that we're here and glad we did it in the way we did.
Paul?
I'm in a similar boat. I haven't seen Liverpool at this stage for far too long, and it's reached a point now where you almost want to see a huge team come to Anfield. We haven't seen that in such a long time. All right, Roma Shakhtar, if you want to be really pragmatic about it, yeah, the winner of Roma Shakhtar would be the most advantageous one if we want to get to the semi-final. But for me, as long as we haven't got a European trip away in Manchester, whatever form that may take, I don't really mind. If you really had to push me, I'd say I want to avoid Barcelona just to avoid the Suarez narrative. But even then, I feel like, all right, it's a Champions League semi-final. A year ago, I would have taken the fact that we were in a Champions League quarter-final. Let's just give it a go and take on anyone. But I really, really want to avoid the Manchester clubs. If they could get each other, or even better, if we could get Sevilla, that would be fantastic. But just any good away European side doesn't keep us. That doesn't mean going down the East Lancs road would be fine by me.
I'm okay with City. I'm okay with Juventus. I'm okay with. I don't want Chelsea. If Chelsea manage to progress, I don't want Chelsea. But if it's Barcelona, I'm fine with Barcelona. Fine with Madrid. Fine with anyone except for United. I really don't want United. I don't want United, and I kind of don't want Shakhtar if they do progress. I don't want to go all the way to Shakhtar, but Roma, I don't know. If it's an Italian club, I want Juventus. I'm saying it again. I'm with Fawi on this one. I think we'd just brutalize them. I just think so. We'd brutalize this Juventus team.
I think we'd have a shot. Certainly, I think we'd be able to give that three-man defense something to think about.
Oh, hell yes,
we would. To stretch them.
Oh, absolutely. Hell yes, we would.
Well, they're playing a back four technically, but yeah.
Okay, fine.
As for the Shakhtar thing, we need practice, and we have to play in Ukraine for the final, so we need the practice.
I like the way you think.
Okay.
Nice optimistic. I love it.
Yeah, I think we can get to the final so long as we avoid United. I don't want United. I don't want teams that. Again, I don't know. It's funny. I actually don't fear United. I just don't want them because over a two-legged Champions League tie, there are a few managers worse to go up against than Mourinho. It's just he's just really good at winning those. So yeah, I don't want them. I wish Sevilla can somehow manage to get a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford and knock them out. And that's that. But yeah, I really don't want United. If there's one team I don't want, City, I don't care. If it's City, it'll be fun, it'll be exciting, it'll be like an aggregate score of 8-7 to us. So I'm happy. So I'm totally happy with that. One of the few other things I want to talk about is this last bit of a run-in that we're going to have now, and we were discussing this a little bit before we came on. But we were looking at Chelsea's fixtures because Chelsea seem to be the biggest threat to upending one of the top 4 teams right now, but they're still a little bit ways away. They do have a couple of big games. There's one, obviously, big one that's coming up after the international break. It's Chelsea-Tottenham. Ideally, I would like Tottenham to win that game. Just kind of put distance between Chelsea and the top 4. But they do have another tricky game. Swansea away could be a tricky game, and then obviously we play them in May away from home. So I would like them to be out of the running mathematically by that point. Paul, take me through your confidence level right now of getting top 4.
I'm nervous now after yesterday. I think it's going to be tight. And I think it's going to be about as tight as it was last summer when we finished 4th by just 1 point. Because Chelsea do have some tough fixtures. Spurs at home is obviously no easy game whatsoever. But we always give ourselves the hardest possible task. I'm looking ahead to that Chelsea game away at their place. I think the game before last, it's already given me shades of that summer in 2003 where we needed to beat them or avoid defeat at the bridge to qualify for the Champions League, and we got beat 2-1. I don't want that again. So when we get to those last couple of fixtures, I hope that Spurs have gotten a good result against them. I hope that we've avoided any banana skins, especially against the likes, especially of Everton. We can't be dropping points to them again. And have clear daylight between us and Chelsea. And I think if we get maybe just one more weekend's worth of fixtures that go our way, Chelsea slip up, we win, I'll start to think, yeah, I think we'll do this. But right now, I'm too cautious about it to feel optimistic.
See, the way I look at it is that I look at the Burnley game as not being easy for them. It's away from home. Burnley are not easy away from home. So let me see. They have 9 fixtures left, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of them are away from home. So, and including a trip. No, that's actually that's a FA Cup fixture. But
8 games to go.
yeah, 8 games to go. I was counting the FA Cup fixture for some reason, but yeah, I don't see them having an easy run in. That's the thing that gives me hope, and also what gives me hope is that they're playing us the second last weekend of the season, which again they could mathematically be out of it by that point, which is something I'm quite hopeful for. So, Hassan.
Well, you were saying that Burnley aren't easy.
No, they're not. They're not.
I mean, they've not been as good as last season. Their their away form has been like one of the most shocking things of the season. I think differences between this season and last is that it's more in our hands this time.
Yes,
and
it is.
we have the luxury of having our rivals play each other. So, and by the time that I think we played twice in the Premier League before they play Spurs. Chelsea plays Spurs, I think.
Yes, they play Spurs on April 1st.
And I think we played twice before that.
Let's see. We play Watford and Crystal Palace. Yes.
Okay. So potentially, if we do win, and I'm saying if because I think Watford, we're more likely to win than Palace away. Because I think just Watford are they're mid-table, they're fairly safe, they're 10th, 36 points, 9 points from the relegation zone. Whereas Palace are, down there. So that could be a nasty one.
Yeah, and we struggled against them their pace in the past.
But potentially
they don't have Balassi and all whatnot anymore.
Is that they still have Zaha, and Townsend is not a bad player for them.
And then Benteke.
Benteke was so bad yesterday. It was his lack of effort is staggering for someone who is already not the most talented player on the planet. To not show any work rate is amazing.
Watch him show so much work rate against us. Just watch.
Yeah, probably
he will
have like 17 tackles.
He'll win every duel
man marking him.
He'll win every aerial duel against Lovren.
Potentially, if we do win both games, we would be 10 points ahead of Chelsea.
Yeah, that's
putting pressure. That's putting pressure on a team. So, I mean, we're in a good position. We have, I would say, we have 3 games in which we can slip up. I mean, on paper at least, which means we will slip up even more because we're Liverpool.
Everton.
I would say Palace away, Everton away, because they always want to beat us, and it's away. Their longest ever run in the Premier League without beating us. So that's always, a nasty one. I hate those sort of records. And you have the Chelsea game away.
Yeah.
The 5 home games, if we don't win them all, I mean, unless we make up for it against Everton Palace, it's an issue. But our run-in is easier than Tottenham or Chelsea.
It is. It is easier on paper, at least.
On paper, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have the international break, so hopefully, probably like Salah and Mane will come back with gonorrhea or something.
It's just how. I want to know how.
No, you don't.
Don't ask.
They're not going to the Olympics. They're not going to the Olympic Village. They're just
they'll be injected into their system.
I think the only thing that can actually.
By what means, I don't wish to imagine.
No, I mean, yeah.
Oh, don't use the word injected.
It more likely be like an ankle ligament injury to counter hurricanes.
See, the only thing that can actually trip us up is injury at this point. That's how that's how confident I am right now in this team, and the way they're playing. Is that the only thing that I think that can actually trip us up is injury. That's about it. The one difference between Tottenham and Chelsea, and I'm assuming this for Chelsea, is that Tottenham and Chelsea will not have European commitments. That's the thing. We will.
But they have FA Cup commitments.
Yeah, but it's not European commitments.
It's not, but it means moving games midweek.
It does. It does means postponing games and getting fixtures kind of back to back against one another pretty quickly. So that could be problematic for them. But
we shouldn't discount Chelsea against Barcelona still.
I agree with you. But also, I will say one thing. One thing about FA Cup fixtures, I'll take my point back, is that the way Chelsea and Tottenham may look at the FA Cup is that they're one opportunity of winning silverware this season. So they may actually treat it with a lot more importance than I was basically giving them credit for. So it's possible.
And it should be mentioned, even if we finish fourth, there is a small chance that we still don't qualify for the Champions League. And that is if somehow Chelsea go on a great run, like in 2012, win the Champions League, and Arsenal win the Europa League. Then the fourth place gets
no, it's not going to
out.
happen. It's not going to happen.
That fourth place gets knocked out.
I'm sorry, but I can see Chelsea
you have to mention because it happened to Spurs in 2012.
I can see Chelsea winning the Champions League. It's not Chelsea that's the issue here. It's Arsenal that's the issue here. There's no way.
I could see them losing on Thursday to Milan, like 2-0. I mean, if you can lose
Barini,
to
man. Barini. I'm telling you, Barini's is gonna knock them out.
Did you watch the game?
No, I didn't.
He took off Calabria, the right back, and put Barini on as a right back. That's where Barini is in his career.
To be fair, Barini is the kind of guy that will play his heart out even at right back. So I won't.
Yeah, I mean, Barini is.
You like Lovren, okay? Listen, why should I have to defend Barini when you like Lovren?
Again, Lovren, I like that he puts in the effort.
Oh, and Barini doesn't apparently.
No, I'll tell you what annoys me about Barini. It's just that he's Barini. Like, that's what annoys me about him. It's and you know, I mean, Barini is, if Dirk Kuyt loses his technique and winning mentality,
that's saying something
and leadership.
Yeah, I know.
That's saying that because Kuyt didn't really have much technique to begin.
Yeah, he really didn't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the guy had nerves of steel, and I love the guy. I can't think of a player I would more trust in a high pressure situation than Dirk Kuyt. And that's saying something compared. I'm looking at Suarez, I'm looking at Torres, I'm looking at Gerrard, I'm looking at all these players, and I would trust Dirk Kuyt more than I would trust them. That's how much faith I have.
How many players can say they scored a hat trick to win their team the title?
Not many. I give him credit.
And as for, I mean, I'll compliment this about Barini. He is the upgraded version of Stephen Naismith.
I actually like Stephen Naismith. So don't stop it. All right, just stop it.
I'm not sure he's even playing football anymore. I think he's back in Scotland.
Doing what?
Playing football, but it doesn't count because it's in Scotland.
Oh, he's playing at Hearts on loan from Norwich. That's what he's doing. So
that's one hell of a career, by the way. And to be fair, he's been to European finals, so we can't diss him that much.
He's not a bad player, right, Stephen Naismith? He's not a bad player. I always liked him.
Yeah, he's one of those unique shit players who are actually productive for a shit team, like Everton.
He's not that bad, all right? All right, so at least
he's not that good. You mean?
It's not that bad. At least you didn't say shit about Callum Wilson. I'm happy about that because he had a good game today. Poor guy.
He should go to Newcastle. That's his level.
He's
a starter for Newcastle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have to note here that Paul and I do not share Acumen's opinion on Callum Wilson and that the fact that we should sign him as backup.
I
I would just
absolutely.
like to
Did you
point that
see him
out.
today?
You should
Did you
have
see him
that.
today?
That should be at the start of every single
Did you
podcast
see
that we
him?
make.
Did you see
That
him?
we do not support him on
Yeah.
this position.
He's underrated
This
as
man does
hell.
not represent us.
He
Yes.
is underrated as hell.
He is underrated in that he shouldn't play at Bournemouth, but at a team that would finish 10th.
He is underrated as hell. Have you even another thing about him that I really enjoyed watching him today, especially strength on the ball. Strength on the ball. He was taking on these Tottenham center backs that they were nothing.
You know who has strength on the ball?
Benteke.
Akinfenwa.
Akinfen was not a. I mean, look, Akinfen was more known because of like video game FIFA than for anything else. All right, so forget Akinfenwa. The point is that if we sell off Danny Ings and we sell off Daniel Sturridge, which is likely, I'm not saying, because I could see Burnley buying Danny Ings again, especially considering that they're going to finish in the top half, and if that's the case, you never know. There's a spot open for Callum Wilson here, so
I'd rather we go for Vardy.
Jamie Vardy's going to be too expensive. Don't get me wrong, I would sign him first, but he's probably going to be too expensive.
What a finish yesterday, by the way.
No, he's a great player. I would have him here. I would definitely have him here. I just don't think we're going to end up signing him for 35-40 million.
Yeah, we're gonna this will be a segue for who will be England's fourth striker.
Not going to be Callum Wilson.
There's gonna be Kane and Vardy, Rashford,
Kane, Vardy, Rashford,
and then
Lingard. Lingard's gonna go.
He's not. He's gonna go, but I don't think he'll cut as a striker. Who's gonna be the striker? Because there are some who are calling for Glenn Murray.
God.
Why I don't
Ashley
know.
Barnes. It'll be Ashley Barnes.
Oh God. To be fair, he's playing well.
He
is a nuisance. To be fair, he's a real nuisance. I mean, you have the genuine options are there's Ashley Barnes,
Troy Deeney,
Dwight Gale, Troy Deeney, Peter Crouch, or Jermaine Defoe, or he'll get back like Wayne Rooney just returns to the England team. Jay Rodriguez? Oh, Welbeck. It's gonna be Welbeck.
Yeah, it'll be Welbeck. There we go.
Which I understand, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say yuck, okay, to that idea. Yuck. Because honestly, Callum Wilson deserves it over Danny Welbeck. So just saying.
I mean, it's not nice to talk about the English. Who the hell? The English Florian Cinema Pongol? Who is Danny Welbeck?
He's only got 13 goals, I believe, for Arsenal, if I'm not mistaken. He's I don't know. Danny Welbeck, I'm sorry, just no. He's a big no for me. He's so underwhelmed as a player.
Danny Welbeck is, the shit man's Mandzukic when he plays on the left. That's what he is.
Don't disrespect Mandzukic, all right?
I really like Mandzukic. I've always liked him. I wanted us to sign Mandzukic in 2012 from Wolfsburg. Don't.
All right, I think this podcast has run its time since we're talking about Callum Wilson and whatnot. But guys, thanks for joining, and we'll pick it up soon.
Great, chat soon.
Yeah, see ya.